गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Om Narayan Narayan Narayan. So at least this 42nd point which we were discussing, let me complete it. Once we complete this 42nd point, and then probably next, we don't know, let us see. यत् पुनरुक्तं शरीराधिष्ठातृत्वेनैव. By शरीर अधिष्ठातृत्वेनैव द्वेहादि व्यापारयितृत्वं संभवति इति. And the Purvapakshi stated that just by wielding the body, sharira adhishtatrutvam means just by wielding the body, Atma can become the Karta. Just by wielding the body, so you don't need body to be imposed upon the Atma. This is what Purvapakshi's view. By wielding the body, Atma can become the Karta. Karta means the doer of a thing. This is what Purvapakshi told, Dehadi Vyaparayitritvam Sambhavati. To this we have already replied. Because adhishtatruttvasya adhyapi asidyatvat, we say this amounts to be already replied. Because that the Atman wields the body is not yet established. Atma using the body. Wielding means using the body. Atma using the body is not yet established. Say this is a good point. Atma being asanga by its nature. Asanga means untouched, uninvolved, unrelated. From the standpoint of Atma, Atma is totally untouched. Like the mirror, whatever it reflects, the mirror is not touched by the object that is reflected, or the reflection, let us say. Atma is not touched by the reflection. However, it may appear that a mirror is holding a reflection. It may look that mirror is holding the reflection. But no, mirror, from the standpoint of mirror, no reflection at all. Therefore, you can't say it is using it. The mirror is using it, holding it, that you can't say. Okay. Therefore, adhishtatruttvasya adhyapi asidyatvat, body, Atma using the body is not yet proven, because in our neither Anubhava says nor logic says. Atma remains ever untouched by, unaffected by, or in other words, from the standpoint of Atma, body, presence of the body, using the body, and the effect of all these actions, none of them exist. From the standpoint of the Atman, neither holding the body, using the body, or getting the result of using the body. By using the body, it doesn't get any result, because it doesn't use it, because it doesn't exist. Therefore, adhishtatrutvasya adhyapi asiddhatvat nahi sharirādhrishtatva upapadakah kopi vastavikah sambandhah adhyapi ಅಂದರೆ ಶರೀರ, no relationship, no real relationship which establishes the Atman to be the possessor or wielder of the body is so far proven. because no fact, no evidence is shown to prove that Atma is holding the body or using the body and such things. Therefore, the illustration Katakartru Nidarshanam tu Vaishamyadeva Upeksham, and the illustration of the mat maker, Katakarta, being dissimilar, the Katakarta, the illustration of Upeksham, it should be ignored. Katakarta, the example that the mat maker is using, using that instrument to make the mat, and also he uses the instrument as well as the straw. He uses the straw and twines it, or I don't know what to say, that joins them into a pattern, and then the mat is born. So the joining them into a pattern, he uses the straw. Straw is the material, raw material. Okay, so Katakartru Nidarshanam, taking the illustration of mat maker is not right. It doesn't suit. Therefore, this illustration should be ignored. It can't be used here because Katakarta hi swayam vyaparavan Viranadikam Vyaparayati, because the mat maker himself being active. See, the mat maker himself being active, or an agent activates the straw, etc. See, the mat maker himself is an active person. Active means the doer, an agent of action. Therefore, he activates the straw. Straw means he moves the straw, because the straw moves. Moves means the straw gets joined and assumes in another shape. Okay, it moves and modifies. Not only activate means it moves and modifies. So he affects. Activates means he affects. The mat maker affects upon the affects the very straw. He affects the straw. How does he affect it? He moves it. He makes it to move and modify all that. Because here in the example, in the illustration, Katakarta has a body. Katakarta has a body and a form. He exists in time and space so that he can change, he can be active. Active means he will be a karta, doing action. And then the instrument he uses and the material he uses. What is the material? The straw. The straw he uses, he operates, he uses the straw. He uses the straw and affects it. He uses the straw and makes an effect on it. Okay, he uses the straw and affects it, pressurizes it, changes it, modifies it into another pattern. So here the Katakarta, the mat maker, is also a person having a shape, and that also is an object having a shape. So therefore both of can be connected and both of will change. But that example doesn't suit, because Iha Punaratma Swayam Vyapara Abhavavan, whereas the Atman himself is not active. Atma is not an agent of action, because Atma has no Deha, Atma has no form, let us say. Atma has no form, no change. Because for having no form and no movement, okay, for Atma having no form and no movement, Vyaparavan asangascha. Asangaha, therefore, it cannot be. It cannot be attached, associated with anything else. It cannot be associated, therefore, unattached. This is the difference. not attachable. You can't attach, you can't associate anything with the Atma. Okay, Asanga. Okay, the next point, Nacha Shankitavyam. You should not have this objection again. Atma Atmiyaihi Smriti Ichcha Prayatnaihi Karma Hetubihi Swayam Vyaparavane Veti Teshamapi Adhyasa Purvakatvat. Now, Siddhanti told that you can't take the mat maker's example, you can't see the similarity. You can't take the similarity because it is not similar. The mat maker himself has a body. He himself is active person, karta. Therefore, a person who himself has a form and also movement. He has got a form and movement. So, a person, a thing, something which has got a form, shape and also movement can use another object as an instrument, and also can take a material like straw and shape it into, take a straw and shape it into a mat. Okay, it is possible. But whereas the Atma himself has neither a form nor movement. Neither a form, movement. So to this, hearing this, Purvapakshi says one thing, no, Atma also has got some activity, some movement, some shape, some movement is there even in Atma, he says. How? How do you say that? There are movements. Movements mean, I think movement you understand, movement, the chalanam. You say that there is some movement. No. Purvapakshi says they are there. Tell me how. Show me how. He says, you say interesting. Just a minute. I'm just adjusting the phone. Okay. I've adjusted. So he says, Atmapi Atmiyaihi, Atman by his nature is really active or very much an agent, because with the help of his own possessions, Atma is in possession of what? Memory, smriti. Atma has got a memory. Okay? Ichcha, prayatna. Smriti ichcha prayatnaihi. Who says this? These are all Naiyayikas. Naiyayikas is in olden days. And even these days also there are some people who say like this. Who objects this thing? Naiyayika. Let me write here. Naiyayika. Naiyayika's belief. Nyaya is a school of philosophy. Naiyayika is a person who follows the school of Nyaya. According to them, the qualities of the mind belong to Atma. Qualities of the mind means like memory. Ichcha means the will, the desire and will. Ichcha is desire, prayatna is will. Okay. Smriti ichcha prayatnaihi karma hetubhihi. These are the sources of action. Sources are roots of action. Because the karma, the action, a movement comes, movement is initiated by something in the mind. Who initiates? You have got a memory. How? Let us see. How do you work? If you see something, how does the action initiate in us? How does the action rise in us? See, it's a very interesting thing. How does the action rise in us? You start acting. That means a will is required. In your mind, a will is required. The will pushes your hand. If you have a will in your mind, the will pushes your hand so that your hand rises and goes and holds the thing. Okay? The hand was just lying here. Okay? The hand was lying here, it rises up. Goes up to reaches it and then holds it. All these things, how do you do? There is a will in the mind. In the mind, there is a will. The will means what? There is a force in the mind which pushes the hand, isn't it? That's what we call will. Will means there is a force in the mind, which pushes, which raises the hand, takes it there, and also holds it and brings it here. Whatever the movement in the hand takes place because there is a will in the mind. Will means a force which moves it. Okay. Now, how does the will operate? See, this is not actually Vedanta, because Vedanta says Atma is free from the qualities of mind. But our other school of philosophy, see, in India we have other schools, they are mutually supplementing certain aspects of life. They discuss, they do. So the worldly aspect, how the mind functions, all that they discuss nicely. Our Nayayikas and Sankhyas, they discuss nicely about the functions of the mind, prana and all that. Vedantins don't discuss all those details much. They take just as much as necessary to show how Atma is different from mind, that's all. How Atma transcends the mind. Atma transcends the mind, unaffected by the mind and body, and from the standpoint of Atma, there is no mind and body. That's all has to show. Vedanta has to teach only this much. Therefore, Vedanta doesn't go into detail of how the mind functions. But our Nayayikas do. Therefore, generally we say, we study all the 6 schools of philosophy of Vedanta. We generally study all the 6 schools of Vedanta because they are supplementary. They give you certain other details which Vedanta doesn't give, because Vedanta talks of only Atma and then leaves out everything. But to understand life, you require these other details. Some people unable to know. 2 problems. Some people do not know at all other schools of philosophy. So other schools of philosophy talk about the functions of mind, and therefore you understand life better. Okay. Sankhya and yoga helps you in sadhana, in Antakarana Shuddhi. Okay. In Antakarana Shuddhi it helps. Therefore, there it is better. But some people have not studied other schools, so they won't be able to explain certain things more detail to the traditional people or as well as the modern people. So the traditional people and modern people, because these other schools of philosophy are helpful in understanding life as a life, and also functioning of the mind, and also to communicate Vedanta, to teach Vedanta, you may need as a tools, though it is not the Vedanta's topic to understand functioning of the mind. Only Vedanta see the difference. Vedanta teaches how Atma is independent of mind and transcends the mind, and from the standpoint of mind, from the standpoint of Atma, there is no mind at all. This much is Vedanta teaches. So Vedanta doesn't go into the detailed functioning of the mind, but whereas other schools like Yoga Shastra and Sankhya Shastra talks the deeper mind, that is a yogic mind, little spiritual mind, and Vaisheshika's talk normal mind. Nyaya Vaisheshika talk of functioning of normal mind, whereas the Sankhya and Yoga talk of the deeper mind, that is a spiritual mind. Vedanta talks of how to transcend the mind. See the difference? Nyaya, Vaisheshika, these 2 schools are very closely related schools because they have got many ideas common. Many points are common. Therefore, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, these 2 schools talk of the normal functioning of the mind. Then the Sankhya and Yoga talk of little spiritual mind, inner mind, a deeper mind. Then Vedanta talks of how to be free from the mind, how to very transcend the mind. See, this is the difference. Therefore, Vedanta doesn't talk, but it makes use of other schools of philosophy. Therefore, the people should study other schools also as much as useful. that helps you to understand the normal functioning of the mind. And Antakarana Shuddhi, Bhakti, Yoga. See, in Bhakti and Yoga, what changes the mind undergoes in Bhakti, in Yoga. Therefore, there is a Bhakti psychology, Yogic psychology. So this Bhakti psychology, Yogic psychology helps you to understand the Upasana, Antakarana Shuddhi and all that. But Vedanta doesn't go into details, broadly touches and helps you to come out of it. Okay? Helps you to transcend it. Therefore, to be able to follow the meditation, yoga, bhakti, you need yoga, yogic understanding, yoga's contribution to the understanding of mind, yoga and Sankhya. And also to be able to teach, teachers need a lot of material, lot of ideas, lot of tools to be able to communicate. Teacher needs it. A student, a listener who is interested only in Vedanta may not need all those. But one thing you remember, okay, even when you study other schools of philosophy, you should be able to distinguish these clearly. This one thing is, many people have not studied other schools of philosophy. Therefore, certain these details they cannot understand. Second point is, those who study also get mixed up. That is also a problem, because the difference between them is very, very subtle. Okay? Very subtle. To some extent, we have discussed partly in our Vedanta Sara, Vishuddha Vedanta Sara. Again, we are going to discuss in Kannada, of course in Kannada. Again, we are going to discuss at their own place when they come again. Again, during Avastatraya Vivekava, during Nididhyasana, again they will come in Upasana and Nididhyasana. Again, we are going to discuss these things. In fact, it is a separate topic. Comparative study between Yoga and Vedanta. Yogic mind and Vedantic understanding of Atma. Yogic understanding of Atma and Vedantic understanding of Atma, when you compare them, then many more details, subtle details come into picture. That is a separate topic we are not going to discuss now here in Sugama. I think that's an interesting topic. I will take up. I will take up, at least for those people. I don't know how many people are interested. I see only 4 people. Many people do not seem to be interested in my classes. So anyway, I'll see. If they are interested, we will take up. Otherwise, we will stop with Sugama alone. We may not cover more classes. So, Bhakti, Yoga talk of little deeper aspect of mind. Sankhya, Vaisheshika talk of only just a superficial mind. Superficial means normal mind. But the Western psychology talks of abnormal mind. Okay? See, 3 levels. Western psychology talks of abnormal mind. Nyaya Vaisheshika talks of normal mind. Yoga and Sankhya talks of little deeper mind. And Vedanta talks of how to be free from the mind, how to transcend the mind. Therefore, so those who study these other schools of philosophy generally get confused, mix up. Therefore, some people advise them, hey, don't study Yoga and Sankhya, directly study Vedanta. Some of our gurus used to say, I have studied from number of gurus. One of the gurus used to say, I wanted to teach Yoga sadhana, Yoga also, but I was afraid that my students, some of them at least, some people are intelligent, they can understand, but some of them may get confused and they start taking that yogic understanding of mind as the Vedantic understanding. So, because the subtle difference people are unable to make, therefore he was afraid and he didn't want to teach it and he stopped it. he didn't take up it at all. But our Akhandananda Swamiji would do it. Sachidananda Swamiji wanted to do, but he did very little, scattered in his books. But anyway, with the help of Akhandananda Swamiji's, with the help of what I studied, with the help of what I understand in my own anubhava, adding my own thing, I will cover somewhere. Okay, so in Swamiji's writings also, they are scattered. Okay, we leave it now. This is some general knowledge. Coming to the topic, he says, Smriti Ichcha Prayatna. This is Purva Paksha. In fact, this is not Vedanta. This is a Purva Paksha. But even, let us try to understand even Purva Pakshis argument. He says, Smriti Ichha Prayatna. Smriti is memory, Ichha is desire, Prayatna is a will. Will and action, we have to include both. The will itself expresses as an action at the level of the body. Okay, will is in the mind. The same will uses the hand and legs and etc. It becomes an action. The will is a movement in the mind. Okay, a force in the mind. Will is a force in the mind. The same force comes onto the body. You call it action, isn't it? The same will comes onto the body. Means functions through the body, expresses through the body. Let us say the same will is a force in the mind. If that force operates at the level of the body, you call it action. But sometimes the will operates in the mind also. Okay, the will operates in the at the level of mind, operates at the level of speech, operates at the level of other parts of the body. When it operates at the level of other parts of the body, you called action. You called work or action. The same will, when it expresses, operates means expresses. The same will expresses at the level of speech, you call it speaking. That is Vag Vyavahara. The same will operates at the level of mind, you call it imagination, thinking. Okay, imagination, thinking is function of the mind. That means when will is operating through the mind alone, will is using the mind. When will is only a simple force. The force uses the mind, you have a continuous imagination, thinking, all that. Okay, thinking in general, and there are different types of thinking. One is imagination, questioning, all kinds of thinking. Okay, so the same will is a force in the mind. The same force expresses through speech, you start speaking. When it expresses through hands and legs, you start using the body. The bodily parts start moving. Okay, so the will. Now, how to understand the will? There are certain movements in our body, like breath, like inner heart beating and blood circulation. They function without your will. Will means, we call in our normal language, voluntary activity. Voluntary means where you use will is called voluntary. Involuntary means you don't use will. Things just happen without your will. Okay, the will can be understood. An action which you consciously do is called a voluntary. In voluntary action, there is a will. In involuntary action, there is no will. Things happen without your will. To be able to understand the nature of will, you can see voluntary action, involuntary action. Breathing can be done in either way. See, heart beating is involuntary. Your raising hands and speaking is voluntary. Speaking and using the hand is voluntary action. Heart beating, blood circulation is involuntary. But breathing is two. It can be voluntary, it can be involuntary. See, it's a very, very strange thing. Breathing is voluntary and involuntary. So when you are not conscious of breathing, it goes on. When you become conscious, then you can breathe. Consciously, you can breathe it. Okay, so I am giving this example. So this is not Vedanta, note it. That's why I told you. We are touching other schools of philosophy. They are helpful to understand your body, mind and speech and certain things. But this is not Vedanta. This is about body, mind and sense organs functioning. How the body, mind and sense organs function. It is useful to help you to understand the mind so that you can transcend the mind. Transcending the mind is Vedanta. Note that. Transcending the mind is the real part of Vedanta. Other is secondary. Therefore, you can take as a secondary ideas belonging to other schools, we can take. That's why in India, we don't call other schools as totally opposite to Vedanta. We take them as together as one Vedanta, one philosophy. All 6 schools put together, we call them as one philosophy. They are supplementary to each other, help each other. Okay. So the will is a force in the mind which pushes. Okay. Yeah. Then the will, see, will has got an inner one. If you go to the root of the will means a force in the mind. It is a rajasic force, an activeness. Mind becomes active. But for the mind to become active, there is a still subtler force. What is that? A desire, ichcha. See, for the will to function, there should be a desire. When there is a desire, only will comes. When there is no desire, no will come. You watch it. You are sitting silent. You are just sitting. How do you raise your hand? Or how do you start speaking? To speak, you have to use your lips and tongue, you have to move them. You watch them. I think you have to patiently watch. People say, oh, our Indians are unscientific. You see them, how much they have watched. Thing is, they have watched our life. Even Ayurveda, all this is watching alone. Everything, even our Jyotisha is watching. Our Vastu is watching. Watching alone is science. Jyotisha is watching. Our astrology is watching. Result of a watching and accumulation of knowledge. Ayurveda is watching. And other schools of philosophy is watching our mind and the body and how they function. They have watched. Lot of things they have watched. Many things are destroyed. This foreign period, they have destroyed many things. Anyway, both the foreign rules, the Mughal rule and also British rule, both of them have destroyed our knowledges, books, because it is all interconnected. They have destroyed the castes also, because it was knowledges existed in various castes, all the people had all the people had various knowledges. All of them had knowledges. All castes were holding some knowledges. Higher caste had some knowledge and lower caste had their own knowledge. Handicrafts was a plenty of knowledge. Even that is knowledge. Sciences. We had various knowledges in the various castes. Whole Indian society is full of knowledge. These are all British created, that only higher caste people were holding knowledge, wielding knowledge. They have not given. See, mutually, lower class people also had their own knowledges, their handicrafts, arts. They did not give to higher people. Did not give means it is not giving, it is a division, that's all, division of labor. They had their own knowledges, these people had their own knowledges, and they were mutually supplementing, mutually helping each other. So whole Hindu society was full of knowledges and skills. Okay, so we have to study our own Hindu society from our own standpoint. We have become second-hand fellows. All these British universities must be closed down. They are all vulgar universities. They are all foolish university, and we are continuing. It is a Nehru's game of continuing this utter foolishness. They are not spreading knowledge, they are spreading ego, they are spreading ignorance and foolishness they are spreading. All these universities should be closed down and get back to our own universities, our own knowledges. Anyway, that is, you leave them. Coming to our point, the will, how does the will, you study the Nyaya Shastra, it's very interesting. They talk of all these things. The will is a force, a movement. So before the movement comes, how does the movement begin? You watch, how does the movement begin? Okay, the movement begins with a desire, a wish. Desire means wish. Will is a wish and will, you call them wish and will. Okay, with a wish, will arises. Will functions with a wish. Behind the wish, behind the will, there is a wish called desire, or you may call it desire. Behind the will, there is a wish. That's why Ichcha and Prayatna, all these Nyaya school discusses thoroughly. Wish and will. So first there is a wish, and the wish expresses as a will. Okay, there is a movement in your mind. The movement means a force. The force rises because there is a wish. Then how does the wish rise? How does the wish rise? Wish rises based upon your knowledge. Knowledge means what? Suppose you see something, you pen, you pick up the pen, okay? You see the pen. As you see the pen, you remain silent. If you remain silent means you are not interested in using it. Why? Because there is no wish to use it. Why there is no wish to use it? You have no knowledge of it. Earlier memory. If you have a knowledge of past knowledge, what is the pen, how it can be used, what you will get, what is the result if I use it. So this is the knowledge. This is the memory of past knowledge. Past knowledge, you have used the pen. Pen is usable. If you use the pen, this is the result, you get it. So all this knowledge, you have it. Therefore, we have got it, memory. Memory is not simply memory in, let me explain the point. Memory is English word, but Sanskrit word smriti means memory is memory of knowledge alone. See, in English, memory in English only means simply recalling, simply remembering objects. But in Sanskrit, smriti means it is a remembered knowledge, remembered objects, remembered acts, remembered feelings. Smriti is a broader meaning. It means many things. All recalled knowledge is smriti. Recalled knowledge is smriti. Okay, so if you have a knowledge, that means if the knowledge comes means you recall the knowledge. Oh, this pen is usable. If I use it, this will be advantage. If you remember the advantage and how to use it, this knowledge if you have, the wish arises. Wish arises based upon this knowledge. Suppose you did not have this knowledge. You are seeing for the first time what is this object. You don't know and you don't think of using it. You go to the garden, you see some leaf. If Ayurvedic doctor or a person who knows this, hey, here is a beautiful leaf, I am looking for it. Oh, let me take up this thing. As you see the leaf, it is a rare leaf, it is useful. If you have the knowledge, instantly a wish arises. The wish becomes a will, and with the will you use it. You pick up the leaf and pluck it and go away. Suppose we don't have any idea of, any knowledge of Ayurveda. You see the leaf, it's good, and go away. So, no wish arises, isn't it? You look at the leaves, you look at a leaf, what does it arise? Does a wish arise? Does a ichcha arise? No, because for the ichcha to arise, you should know something more about that leaf, that knowledge of the leaf useful. How it is useful? It is advantage. That knowledge of usefulness, knowledge of advantage, if you have it, that knowledge is a memory, recalled knowledge. When you recall that knowledge, a wish arises. The wish arises, wish pushes you into will. And with the will, you use the hands and then pick it up. Okay, this is the thing the Naiyayikas explain. Let me tell you, this is not Vedanta because the functioning of the mind. Okay, smriti, ichcha, and prayatna. We were studying Tarka Shastra, and our Guruji used to say in Hindi all these things. In Rishikesh, I remember how many years ago. It was in 80, 83, 84, I studied all this Tarka Shastra. Anyway, leave it. So, Smriti Ichcha Prayatna. So, Purvapakshi says, now come to the Vedanta. We leave that. That's okay, secondary. This is important. So, Atma has certain properties, certain qualities. And with the help of those, because those qualities imply movement. Memory is recalling, is a movement of the mind. Wishing is a movement of the mind. And will is a movement of the mind. Therefore, Smriti, Ichcha, Prayatna, these three are movements. And these three movements belong to Atma. See, Purvapakshi says, these three are belong to Atma. Therefore, Atma also has got a movement. This is the Purvapakshi's conclusion. Teshamapi, Siddhanti says, Vedanti says, no, you missed here. Okay, Purvapakshi is over. Now come to Vedanta. Vedanti says, Atma doesn't have even these things. The memory, recalled knowledge, the wish, and the will. Smriti, Ichha, Prayatna. These three do not belong to Atma. They are also superimposed upon the Atma. They belong to the mind. The entire mind is superimposed upon the Atma. Atma's nature is pure consciousness. Atma doesn't have these mental functions and the qualities of the mind. Okay? The qualities of the mind, the functions of the mind itself is an imposition upon the Atma. Mind is anatma, imposed upon the Atma. Therefore, Atma is free from all this. Okay? See how subtly Vedantins talk of. Atma is free from these. Okay? Teshamapi adhyasa purvakatvat. How they are adhyasa? Yes, to say. I think I have started today very late. I am sorry. Many factors. I started very late today. So, we will close it because it is a 12:15. We will continue. The Siddhanti has to explain this small point remains. We will explain in the next class. So, this 42nd section concludes. Then we will proceed to the next portion of Bhashya. 43rd in the next class we will cover. But even this point is not complete. We have to say that how it is adhyasa. Adhyasa nimitta ishtanishta rupa kriya phalanubhava janita samskara nibandhanahi smrityadayaha. How this smriti, ichha, prayatna, these three are superimposition upon Atma, we have to tell. Because the Purvapakshi is has got a knowledge of Nyaya school, that the Nayayika school. So he is coming with that background of Nyaya school of philosophy. So therefore he says the recalled knowledge, the remembered knowledge. Why recalled? The remembered knowledge, wish and will. These three belong to Atma, he says. Now Vedanta has to prove these remembered knowledge, wish and will. These three do not belong to Atma. They are adhyasta upon the Atma. How? He has to prove. Once you prove, Atma is Asanga is proven. Okay? This point we have to tell in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat.